Hello guys, it's Joey. I thought I'd do the 77 witchy community tag that's been going around. Firstly, apologies for the super exposed light going on. Right now, I've got almost nowhere to sit. I'm literally on the floor where my computer chair is supposed to be, just so I'd have somewhere to sit. We've had to move all sorts of things all over the place because we're supposed to be having workmen in, and it's not happening and I have no space, so it's driving me nuts. But there you go. So apologies for super crazy exposure. But okay, so we're going to do the tag, and it started by Lady Gravedancer, and I know a lot of people have done this, and I was going to do a little bit more serious videos, but I thought, you know, I think I'll do something a bit lighter just to get back on the video making thing. And I've got pudding right here, so pudding's going to help me. You're going to tell me answers? Okay. Right, putting this down my knee, there you go. Do you use runes as a written language? So, it depends what you mean as a written language. If we're talking sigils and writing it down as in a protective format, then I use the Ogam, which are considered by some to be the Druidic tree alphabet, more than the Nordic runes, Fuwok runes. I get on with a couple of the Fuwok runes, Iwaz being primary one. Actually, I noticed I have Iwaz in my palm, like my, and you're not going to be able to see on camera, but in the lines of my palm I have Iwaz sort of into it, which is fun. Fun fact, completely irrelevant, but there you go, didn't answer the question. But other than that, not so much. It's not like I would, I'm much more vocal and oracular than written for the most part. Do you feel you have natural gifts such as premonitions, hearing spirits, and if so, do you think this is what led you to this path? Yes, I have natural gifts. I think that's going to be the answer that most people here give, to be honest. No, I have no gifts whatsoever. I'm a rock. I saw spirits for a very young age. I'm quite naturally empathic. I think I'm more projective empathic than I am receptive empathic. My middle sister was very receptive, and although we both had a little bit of each, so I was more projective and less receptive, and that means we could bounce moods between each other, which is fabulous when you're teenagers. I swear, honestly, don't do it. Natural gifts. I think possibly the biggest gift is a sort of natural curiosity, and I definitely believe I've been here before. I have like memories of past lives, and I dream very strongly all the time. I remember 4, 5, 6 dreams a night, depending on what kind of night it is. So I've always dreamt very vividly. I've always sort of thought in deciphering terms, as in terms of seeing the symbolism and feeling what that meant, and that started off from sort of dream work and built up over time. I've always had a natural affinity for fire and candles and candle work. As far back as I can remember, it's just natural. And do I think all these things brought me to the path? That's a difficult question. I think because from my perspective, I was just always meant to be on this path. There are certain things that I believed as far back as I can remember and attached importance to from being very, very young. So the 4 elements would be one. I've told the story a million times where I knew how to use a pendulum without ever being taught from being very, very young. And I just think this is a natural progression of who I was meant to be on this path. So I don't think it was I had these abilities and then I sought out the path. I think it was just part and parcel of the same journey, to be honest. Oh gosh, the light is gonna... I'm not super exposed crazy white, honest. 3. This is going to be a long video because I talk and talk and talk. What deity do you work with, if any, and why? The Morrigan. I am her daughter. If people don't know that by now. If you don't know me by now. So, have you always worked with the same deity? I worked with God and Goddess in the abstract, and then yes, I would be lying if I said I hadn't felt, sensed, and even communicated with a couple of other energies from certain pantheons. Brigitte has turned up twice in passing. I believe Coronanos was around, but I wasn't in the right frame of mind to fully engage with it, so it wasn't a full connection. I think if I pursued it, I probably could connect there. I've connected through... I sort of... Right, okay. My sister follows mostly Nordic path with, and also the goddess Hecate, so I have a lifeline to those particular gods through the connection to my sister, which is very strong on an energetic bond. It means I sense those energies so easily and so quickly that that wouldn't be much of a challenge, if you like, for me to connect with those energies if I so wish. I have had one conversation with Odin, but there you go. So those are the gods which I've had communication with. However, on a working level, Morrigan is it. Do you use any personal items in your practice? Blood, semen, tears, urine, etc. This is one of these questions, okay, that I don't really feel that I need to go into depth with. It's one of those things which I don't think needs huge amounts of discussion, but I follow the Morrigan, so there you go. The reason for that being that I'm not diving head first into that is there is a lot of negativity and hate around certain body things. I was actually going to make a video about witches using menstrual blood and the huge amount of seeming backlash that there is right now against menstrual blood as well as breastfeeding. There seems to be a lot of attention being drawn to these two things, and there's this whole sort of history of people trying to make her feel a woman unclean at the time of the month, and that menstrual blood is something revolting and to demonize it basically, and it's basically an incredibly powerful life force. So there you go, there's your answer. If you can read between the lines. Do you do past life readings, or have ever had one done? Who were you, or how did you die? No, I haven't had any past life readings, as in tarot readings, I assume, and I haven't had any past life regression work either. However, I've seen one or two in sort of personal meditation, so I guess that's a kind of personal regression. I'm going to be moving about because it hurts to be on the floor. The one that I remember most vividly, I was Spanish. I can't remember exactly when it was. I've got a feeling I've got 1692 in my head. I've got a feeling it's around that sort of time. I know that I was in love with a foreign soldier, and there was another one who was jealous, and he killed me. The jealous guy killed me. So there you go. That's what I remember. What is your favourite magical tool? How do you pick one? How do you pick one? Myself? No. I love myself. And my favourite magical tool? No. Pudding? You're my favourite magical tool. Okay. Don't say on videos, it's horrible. Okay. If I had to, I don't want to, because I love a lot of things, I would pick candles. I enjoy candle work an awful lot, I enjoy firework a lot. I enjoy my crystals. I'm completely surrounded by crystals. I collect crystals pretty much now. We might as well just give up and say I collect them. I do a lot of crystal work as well, but then I do a lot of herb work, I do a lot of flower work, I do a lot of tree work. I don't think I can pick one, but I guess candles if I had to. It's just a sort of natural fit, click. With magic it works. So there you go, I guess. What is a song or type of music that gets you into a witchy mood? Omnia Morrigan or Adrian von Ziegler. What is the most magical place you have ever been? Cornwall, to be honest. I could live there. I wish I did live there. I've been to Tintagel, I've been to the Cave of Merlin, and Cornwall is like another world here in England. It's amazing. What animal is your familiar? Pudding. Pudding is my familiar. Pudding has to be my familiar. I'm not allowed pets. What in the craft are you best at? Tarots, spells, ritual, etc. Ugh. I'm good at everything. I'm hesitant to even pick one thing. I don't know. What one thing can we pick? Because your craft is a huge part of everything. I craft things for a living, so I guess that's one of the things I'm best at, is the physical creation of an outward representation of my spirituality. That works, because that can apply to almost everything. So that's, you know, altar spaces are an outward physical representation of my inner spirituality. Anything I craft and create is an outward expression of my inner creativity. And that can apply to things like crystal grids as well as store related stuff, and yeah, let's go with that. What in the craft are you weaker at? Well, I can't do anything very well with material, so like knitting or sewing or things of that nature. So the creation of anything to do with that sort of material. Is that someone on the drive? Am I going to have to pause the video? I think we're alright. What is your favourite part of the craft? Spell writing, divination, etc. Favourite part of my craft is going to be candle making, or if you're looking at a physical thing, or if you're looking at a more sort of abstract concept, it's the self-expression to be myself as a witch. So there you go. Being allowed to be who I am, and all the things that connect with that. What was the first purchased tool you ever got? It's probably my Rowan wand. Is it the first thing? First thing of note anyway that I remember. It's packed away, so I can't even grab it, but people should have seen that already. What was your first homemade tool for your practice? Oh, it'll be a candle of some description. I don't remember which one it was. What are your feelings on raising kids in the craft? I don't believe in really it depends how old your children are for starters, but I don't really truly believe in telling your kids they have to be X. If your child expresses an interest in what you're doing, then by all means you should be discussing and talking and sharing information, but I'm very much against the idea of telling kids that, you know, this is the way and this is the only way, or, you know, being narrow, short-sighted with them. If you were a goddess or god, who would you be? Oh, mother, obviously. Do you use astrology in your practice? No, not really. Actually, astrology is probably what I'm weakest at. I don't get on with it at all. I'm a Virgo, and there's a lot of Virgo-y earthy things in my chart. I've had my chart looked at, and in some ways I think I'm quite Virgo-esque by the description, but generally speaking, I don't think I'm that Virgo-y in a lot of ways. There are some things which I definitely have. A lot of it just, and I think like the earth signs get such a bad deal compared to everyone else. Everyone else gets sort of like interesting things, and you hear things like earthy, stable, steady, boring, dull. It's just, yeah. So no, I don't. What, if any, ways could you practice dark magic and still respect the beliefs of Wicca? I'm not a Wiccan, so that's not apply, does it? Right, do you have any witches in your family? Me and my sister. We suspect my grandmother. She never told us, but and I don't think she would have called herself that anyway. She had herbs hanging around the kitchen all year round and wouldn't tell us what they were for, and she knew every flower, every herb, like all of them. She just knew them. And she taught my mother, and my mother refused to teach us, which is great, because I could have been so much better educated in herb lore if that had been passed on to me, but it wasn't. How do you organise your herbs and ingredients? The herbs are in their own cupboard. This is fairly Virgo-ish. Over there, alphabetically. I said I'm Virgo in some ways, just not in others. But I work with herbs as part of the business, so I need to know where they are quickly and easily. So, other ingredients. Well, the crystals are in their little boxes. They're in no particular order. And there's a drawer with odds and sods in. The odds and sods witchcraft drawer. And then all the Morrigan stuff is either on the altar where it's supposed to be or in the drawer under it. What item can you not witch without? Oh, hang on, did I miss some? I did miss some. Whoops, go back. What item can you not witch without? Well, candles, I think we already covered that. What is your favourite Sabbat? Samhain. Samhain. I'm an autumn Samhain fiend. Again, if you don't know this by now, I'm obsessed. I am. Every year. Have you ever had a YouTube burnout? Yes, recently. I do when things get a bit stressy on YouTube. I tend to withdraw a bit. I haven't full on burnt out, I haven't full on left, I haven't full on deleted anything, I haven't full on done any of that, but occasionally I will just take a step back from it if needs be. What is your favourite witchy shop, and do they have an online store? Mine, and I do. I guess it means other people's. I do like Star Child, usually, in Glastonbury, and they do have an online store. I've also really been loving It's Simply Different recently, and I think they're only online. Choo choo choo. And then that was how do you organise your head. Gosh, I skipped a whole metric ton. Okay, hang on, we'll slowly scroll this time. Do you have interest in other deities that you don't work with? I'm always interested in hearing more about other dark goddesses. I always complain, and I complained recently, like on like dark goddess pages, that we always hear about Hecate and to some extent recently the Morrigan, but then we don't ever hear about like Kali or Hel or Inanna and so on and so forth. And I'd like to hear about people's experiences with them, and you don't hear about it that much. Do you have a favourite time of day to do spell work? If so, why? Well, I have a favourite time of day, which is dusk, sunset and dusk. I don't particularly aim to do spell work at a particular time of day, unless I'm going full tilt with something. I just spell work when I feel right, which tends to end up correlating to the correct time anyway, oddly enough, because there you go. That's just, you know, how things sync up, synchronicity and whatnot. Are you solitary or do you work with a coven? I am solitary. If you could pick a certain witchcraft tradition that fits your practice, what would it be? Well, Celtic. What was the most creative spell you'd ever done? What did you use? Oh, I don't freaking know. You're asking me to remember every spell I've ever done. I have no idea. I tend to prefer simplified spell work anyway. I think it's generally speaking more potent. I don't think I really want to talk about passive spells anyway. Okay, what do you prefer to use for divination? Tarot, oracle runes? Probably tarot or Ogham staves, but tarot, particularly certain tarot decks, just they open something up in me and they speak to me so beautifully, and only certain tarot decks do this for me. I'm incredibly picky with our tarot decks. So the Wild Unknown is the big one, and that really speaks to me, and it always speaks to me, and it always takes me back to a place of feeling that inner witchiness, and so probably that. What are some ways you keep yourself grounded? Drink water. Stamp of the feet, go put my earth on, go get my earth on, go put my feet on the earth, go sit with a tree. Sitting with a tree is fantastic, it just does it. And if I can't sit with a tree, then imagining roots coming out of my feet as part of a visualization. Have you ever had a spell go horribly wrong? No, I've never had a spell go horribly wrong. I've had spells that don't seem to really have as much fizz as I want them to have, and usually it's because it's a message of wait, something else is better is coming, or something of that description. But horribly wrong? No, I don't think so. I've had some pretty nasty experiences with spirits, but that's not spellcrafting. What are your opinions on initiation rituals? Well, whatever floats your boat, I guess. I do formal initiations or dedications, if you like, to the Morrigan, and I think that's more for me than anything else, but I guess it's more of a coven-based question, and I'm not in a coven, so ba-dum-bum. Have you ever had full-on contact with your deity? Of course, regularly. If so, what happened? Well, I don't really discuss my personal interactions with Morrigan, so sorry question, but what about you is unwitchy? I'm a gamer. I enjoy video games. For the dating witch, how do you tell how would you tell a new love interest that you are a witch? Well, I guess in that situation you'd have to be in some sort of horrific dating scenario where you've met someone on the street, pub, club, whatever, and I don't do that, so I can't really tell you. Most people I know or have gotten to know are people within the community, or people who, you know, gotten to know you one way or another, so beer. Who is a past witch that has inspired you, famous or not? The Four Queens always inspires me. The Four Queens is someone who I can sit and listen to on YouTube, and I have to sit and listen to her on YouTube because it's not her videos are not videos that I can personally sort of sit while I'm doing anything else, because I have to sit and, because I know they'll make me think about it and I'm sitting there like, note things down, yeah. And I just think that her style is incredible, her way of looking at the world is incredible. So yeah, the Four Queens. How do you handle rejection from a fellow witch that refuses to do a reading or spell for you? Well, I've never asked anyone to do a spell for me, and I never would. Not against anyone who would do it, but I'm of the mindset that I'll do it, I'll take care of it, it's fine. Or refuses to do a reading. I've never had it happen to me. In the past, I've had one reading that I've paid for, which is a Four Queens reading, and my sister will do a reading for me because I trust her. But with regards to that, I only really would ask people who I implicitly trust their ability or their connection to me, so I think it's kind of unlikely. But how would I suggest other people handle it? Well, I think with all rejection, at some point you just have to learn not to take it incredibly personally, which is hard, but here you go. Do you think it is necessary to cast a circle when you do spell work or any magical working? The magical circle, as far as I'm concerned, I think has been appropriated as a form of protection in more recent times, and I think it's more to do with creating a sacred space. It's more about putting your energy and creating a sacred area in which to connect with higher power, your deity, your guides, and I think it depends on the location where you're at. So if you're inside, then I would probably do it most of the time, unless you have like a semi-permanent setup where you sort of infuse that with spiritual energy. If you're outside in a sacred space, if you're in your grove or whatever, then you probably don't need to at all, because that's already an area which has been dedicated to a spiritual practice and is protective in and of itself. So depends where you are, depends what you're doing. If Steven Spielberg killed you and wanted to make a movie of your life, who would you want to play you? I don't know. I've no idea. I'd rather we didn't make a movie of my life. I'm like, no thanks. What is advice that was given to you that you pass along because it made an impact on your life / path? I think the thing that sort of sits with me is trying to understand that when people come at you, that they're probably going through something themselves, and to try and understand when that happens rather than just to instantly react. I've been going through a process recently where I'm just going through the process of practicing non-reaction, and that's making huge amounts of difference as well. What is advice you would give someone who has not found their deity? Trust the process. You don't need to have a deity right here, right now, to be a witch or to even be effective. Everything unfolds at the right time, and you know, there's joy in the seeking. So there you go. Trying not to take too long over answers. We're only on 46. Where do you buy your herbs? I grow some and I buy the others from Star Child. How did you feel casting your first circle? Silly, scared, stumble. I even to this day I get moments where I feel silly. So I probably felt silly, and I don't know if that's where that's. It probably comes from being judged by my mother, which is a horrible thing to say, isn't it? But I think everybody has those moments where you just feel a bit silly. I mean, some of the stuff we do must look pretty silly to outsiders. It doesn't feel silly at the time necessarily, but I think if you go outside of your own head and you're like, oh, if someone saw me right now. So probably that. I don't really remember, it's a long time ago now. What was your first successful spell? Probably protection magic. What is your general practice for meditation? I don't have a general practice for meditation, because if I have a set... This is how I'm not a Virgo. If I have a set routine, I get bored. And I get sick, and I get annoyed with it, and I'm like... So sometimes I'll go on a walk and do a sort of meditative process then. And it just depends where I'm at, how I'm feeling, how much I need. I'll just go with what I need on any particular day. I don't have a guideline. Are you a day walker or a night comer? I'm a dusk walker, baby. I'm in the in-between places. On the hedge. How and when did you know you wanted to be on this path? I've always been on this path, and I just came home. It just felt like coming home. What type of pagan are you? Celtic witch. What colour candle do you use the most? Black and white. What area would you like to see your craft grow in? I'd really like to know more about poison plants and things of that nature. I keep saying, like, you see and hear the things that Sarah and all this says, and you're like, I wish I had a teacher like that. Or someone you can just converse with like that. It's another witch I admire, actually, Sarah and all this. What is your preference, to buy or make your tools? I think there's so much stigma attached to this question, it's unreal. To buy or make your tools, well, why not do both? What's the problem with doing both? If you see a really beautiful piece of something, a wand or a athame or whatever, and it's supporting a local pagan business perhaps, or a local business that happens to be in sort of holistic style stuff, and you're like, I really like that, I'm gonna purchase that. And then there will be some people like, you should not have bought a wand, how dare you? And it's like, really? So I have no problem with either, and I think it's whatever speaks to you. I understand that people feel there is a lot more invested in creating your own tools, but if you create something that you're bad at and you hate it and you think it looks ugly, and you're only infusing it with negative energy. It's like, I couldn't make a lot of material based things, like, you know, I can't paint or draw very well. I can paint okay, but I can't draw, so I'm not going to be drawing my own artwork and hanging that up, because I would be looking at it like, that is crap, and that would be a negative thing. So I have absolutely zero problem with purchasing art and hanging it up and dedicating it to the Morrigan. And then if, you know, tools, if you think something is beautiful and you're looking at it and you're admiring it and you're appreciating it and you're holding it and you're feeling it, and hello my tool. Basically you're infusing it with your own energy, you're making it your own, and you go through an initiation rebirth process with it and make it your own. I see no problem with either. That was a bit ranty. What fictional witch book or screen inspired you the most? The shop owner from The Craft. I wanted to be her when I was little. Was your first spell when you were alone or in a coven? Well, I've never been in a coven, so solitary. What is your favourite candle incense scent for magical purposes? So just... Well, my favourite incense is probably... Well, I can't pick one. Eucalyptus. There you go. I like that as an incense and a candle scent, so I guess it would be that. Angelica root, maybe. I don't know. Don't get many good smelling incenses that are supposed to be Angelica. Where are we at? 59! Where's your favourite place to go reconnect with nature? If I had a choice anywhere, Cornwall. I'd be down by the sea, be in the woods, be in the forests. If we're talking locally, it has to be the village green where all the crows nest, because they're amazing. Do you believe in fantasy creatures? Unicorns, elves, fae, etc. Well, I connect with nature devas and, you know, the spirits and energies of plants, so technically they are seen as imaginary by a lot of people. I think the fae are an energy along those lines which we don't understand. So I don't know, never say never. I think there's something to be said for the energies that we don't understand. Do you believe in ghosts or spirits? Yes. What, if any, legal herb do you use for moods? Is coffee a herb? What is the most recent spell or ritual you have done? Slight detail, please. I welcomed in Cole or Hazel this morning. Took a picture of it. It's on my Starry Eyed Supplies Facebook page. So basically I put together little bits and pieces of items that are all related to Cole or Hazel, which the month starts today, and sort of welcomed in the month with those items, drawing down the energy and connecting with the energy of the hazel tree. And God, I feel better for the shift in energy. I've got to say, right? Okay. Where are we? Would you ever teach the craft? I am hesitant to use the word teach. I happily share my experiences, and I would happily do what I do on video in person, sort of in a lecture-y, seminar-y style thing. But as for teach, I think we're guides. I don't think we're teachers. I think we open the doors, but it's for people to walk through, for people, you know. And I guess that's part and parcel of probably why I'm solitary. You see this redness going on in this hair? Sorry. I've just noticed I look like I'm half and half. Oh. There's natural red in my hair, it's in my family. Right, okie doke. Oh, I missed? No, I didn't miss one. It's just because I can't scroll down properly now. Do you have a happy place where you go to during meditation? Yes, I go to a sacred grove. What is your favourite witchy book? Well, right now, it's the... oh, I forgot what it's called. The title properly. It's basically the one I showed on the video the other day, the shamanic herbal... Oh, is it? Herbs in their magical correspondences and healing, witchcraft healing or something like that, in their shamanic practices. That's amazing. I'm going to do a proper review. I do love the Stephanie Woodfield book, Dark Celtic Lore of the Dark Goddess. It's the Celtic Lore of Morrigan book. My brain's really working, you can tell I can't remember the names of things. Do you have a ritual to get ready before a spell. No. I don't follow one standard practice with every single spell I do. I think that would be suffocating. So it depends on what spell it is. I will probably always ground and center and raise energy, but that could be in a variant of different ways. Depending on a particular spell I might sing, I might not. I might use music, I might not. I might be banging my feet about, I might not. I might be creating sound in one fashion or another, I might not. It depends what the spell is. Do you always use your own spells or you tweak others? I always use my own. Do you prefer rituals inside or outside? If I had the choice, outside, but I barely have the choice. Okie dokie, if you're coming from a Christian Catholic background, I'm not. What are your totem animals? Right there you go. Are you a totem animal? Okay. You tell and put in. Right. What are some things you reuse after spell work? Well, obviously the big tools get reused after spell work. If you use athames or wands or crystals, they get reused, but I don't tend to reuse like spell components like wax and stuff. Unless it's a follow-on spell or ritual. But generally speaking, no, I wouldn't do that. Do you know any witchy phone apps? No, because my phone's a brick. What is your favourite magical study? Probably Ogum and study of druidic stuff. Outside of YouTube and Facebook community, do you have a lot of witchy friends in the physical world? No. That was my reason for getting onto YouTube in the first place, to connect with other witches worldwide. And the final question, do you feel that the deities we work with are a form of one higher power and that all beliefs in religion come from the same place? God or goddess? I am hesitant again. I think deity is beyond our human comprehension. I think it is so far beyond our understanding that we pull down in a way that we can connect with and understand. Now, is my goddess real to me? Oh yeah, like very real, like in my face, in front of me, real when she wants to be, or symbolic when not. But I can't, none of us can answer that. We don't know, we're human. That's kind of the point. It's part of the mystery. Maybe it's all connected. It would be nice to think so, in some way. We were all connected in that way. Okie dokie, that's it. Many blessings.